Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. We have an important announcement. There will be no regular episodes from 22nd of September until 10th of October. But during this short break, we will release our long talk episode about life in the occupied areas of Ukraine, so look out for that. If you want to hear it already this week, you can subscribe to our Patreon, support our project and get access to it. To subscribe to our Patreon, follow the link in the description to this episode. My name is Artem, and here is the news. For 573 days, Ukraine stands strong against the forces of the Russian invasion. At least 6 people were killed in the result of Russian shelling of the city of Kupiansk, Kharkiv Oblast, reports Hromadske. Among the dead are 2 women and 4 men. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy continues his visit to the US and spoke at the UN General Assembly, reports European Pravda. He called on other states to join in preparations for a summit on Ukraine's peace formula. This formula, in general terms, represents a way to end Russia's war against Ukraine, and Zelenskyy plans to present it at the Security Council meeting on Wednesday, 20th of September. Quote, over the past year, the peace formula became the basis to update the existing security architecture. Now we can bring back to life the UN Charter and guarantee the full power for the rules-based world order, Zelenskyy said. He added that the peace formula is fully or partially supported by over 140 states and international organizations, and its provisions could become the basis for ending other world conflicts. The president also rejected any shady dealings with Russia, citing the example of Yevgeny Prigozhin, the Wagner Group leader who was killed in a plane crash after agreeing a truce with Putin. The president of Ukraine also called for Russia's nuclear disarmament. Later, during an interview with CNN, Zelenskyy called on Donald Trump to release his peace plan for Ukraine. But the president warned that any peace plan according to which Kyiv gives up its territory is unacceptable. US President Joe Biden called concessions to Russia for ending the war in Ukraine unacceptable, reports TSN. During his speech at the UN General Assembly session, Biden stressed that it would undermine the international legal order. He emphasized that such fundamental principles as sovereignty, territorial integrity, and human rights must not change. Quote, like every nation in the world, the US wants to end the war. No nation wants this war to end more than Ukraine. Russia alone bears the responsibility for this war. Russia alone has the power to end this war immediately, and Russia alone stands in the way of peace, Biden said. He pointed out that if core principles of the UN Statute are abandoned to appease aggression, can any member state be confident that they are protected? We would really appreciate if you could recommend us to your friends and family, as well as share information on social media. This way more people would learn about the podcast and truth about Russia's invasion. In his speech at the UN General Assembly, Volodymyr Zelenskyy mentioned the topic of restrictions on imports of Ukrainian agricultural products by individual EU member states, reports Suspilne. He pointed out that such actions help Russia. The president did not specify exactly who he meant, but he was probably referring to Poland, Slovakia, and Hungary, which recently extended restrictions on the import of Ukrainian agricultural products. When speaking at the Sustainable Development Goals Summit, Zelenskyy also suggested creating grain hubs in African ports to prevent any upheavals in the world food market. At the same time, President of Poland Andrzej Duda defended Warsaw's decision to impose unilateral restrictions on imports of Ukrainian agricultural products, which Kyiv is challenging at the World Trade Organization, reports European Pravda. The President of Poland compared Ukraine to a drowning man, explaining that anyone who has ever taken part in rescuing a drowning man knows that he is incredibly dangerous and he can drag you down to the depths. He also stressed that Ukraine should remember that it receives help from Poland, reports Voice of America. Meeting between Duda and Zelenskyy at the UN has been cancelled, reports TSN. The official reason is delay in the schedule of leaders' speeches at the UN General Assembly, but the Polish side does not rule out that the meeting will take place later. Deputy Minister of Economy and Trade representative of Ukraine Taras Kachka announced that in the coming days Ukraine will introduce an embargo on onions, tomatoes, cabbage and apples from Poland, reports LBUA. According to Kachka, Ukraine decided to choose such a step in order to convince Warsaw to take a step back and agree to the grain trade licensing mechanism developed in cooperation with the European Union, for which Ukraine will be responsible. He emphasized that Kyiv's efforts are not aimed at worsening relations with Poland but at developing civilized methods of dispute settlement. Kachka noted that after 5 months of negotiations, Ukraine has lost hope of settling the issues surrounding Ukrainian agricultural products. That is why on September 18th, the Ukrainian government filed a lawsuit with the World Trade Organization against Poland, Slovakia and Hungary. So far, the Ukrainian government has not received an official response from Poland. The contact group for the defense of Ukraine in the Ramstein format met yesterday, reports Ukrainska Pravda. It was the first one for the recently appointed Defense Minister of Ukraine Rustem Umerov. Umerov informed that participants discussed topics of air defense, artillery, air force and navy, as well as armored vehicles. The Ramstein format, also known as Ukraine Defense Contact Group, unites defense ministers and other high-level officials from over 50 countries that provide military support to Ukraine or consider doing so. US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin informed that Ukraine will soon receive M1 Abrams tanks. Danish Minister of Defense Troels Lund Poulsen announced that Denmark, together with other countries, is purchasing additional 45 tanks for Ukraine, reports Union. The transfer will include 30 Leopard 1 tanks and 15 T-72 tanks. The Norwegian government announced plans to deliver to Ukraine about 50 tracked trucks, which are designed to deliver goods to areas where there are no roads, reports Militarny. UK Defense Secretary Grant Shapps promised additional supplies of artillery shells for Ukrainian forces by the end of the year, reports European Pravda. Thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast. We're a commercial initiative of just 2 people and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we're getting better. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.